Okay, so we go to standings. I think, Jat, you could probably hit on how unstoppable KT looked. Frosk, obviously, you talk about RNG.
Golden Road.
Golden Road, one step closer.
KT versus RNG final we've been waiting for. Finally, we get to see it in the semis. Not the final, but still exciting.
And Vedius, I'm trying to figure out where you get in here with.
Yo, I think producers want me to let you know that you're reading off the wrong script.
Ha! Ha! I knew it! I knew it! I told you, and I told you, and I told you yesterday was real! It happened! It wasn't an imagination, it was a real thing! I told you! Europe, baby! Woo!
Predictions are irrelevant as Worlds 2018 continues to prove everybody wrong. We'll see what sort of insanity can be cooked up with our series today. It's a clash between regions to kick things off as the last hopes of North America and the LCK go head-to-head in Cloud9 versus Afrika Freaks. We'll see if NA's number 3 seed can upset the hometown favorites here in Busan. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson alongside Indiana Frosker in black, Andrew Vedius Day, and Joshua Jat Leesman. For Worlds Countdown, we had 10 insane games yesterday. Woo. Tons of fun. We're back again for a double best of 5. Vedius, you still riding that high from the G2 victory?
Yes. It was so good waking up this morning and realizing it was real. It actually happened. G2, they made the upset happen. I got to cast it, and it was a phenomenal series.
And even the fact that you said Afrika is the last hope for Korea. We're in the quarterfinals, man.
Right, yeah. No, you would think we're a couple weeks further down the tournament if we're talking about the last hopes for Korea. Yesterday, though, we did see 2 of the biggest upsets in League of Legends history as Invictus Gaming and G2 Esports took down the tournament favorites KT Rolster and Royal Never Give Up after 10 games packed with action to kick off the quarterfinals.
And just proving that 2018 is anyone's year, and this meta happens to favor the brave and the bold. And we saw both brave and both bold performances from Invictus Gaming and G2. The 1-3-1 style, splitting up the LPL Monarchs, eating up their kingdom and taking them down. And then KT Rolster, that roller coaster continues to drop.
Oh my goodness, they were 2 hits of the Nexus away from a 3-0. Then we nearly get the reverse sweep. Rookie doesn't buy items to start the game. You think he's tilted off the face of the earth, and then they come back and win Game 5. So Invictus Gaming, they're very happy that that Nexus failure isn't the lasting memory of the tournament, but instead they get to play until semifinals at least.
IG going toe-to-toe with KT, and then, of course, we roll that forward into the G2 versus RNG series. Best bot lane in the world in Uzi up against Yarnin and Wadid.
The best in the West.
There you have it.
They earned that title at Rift Rivals, and yesterday they were able to hold their own against the powerhouse duo of Uzi and Ming. But really the story of this game was Perkz in the mid lane. This man really did come up big for the G2 squad as he carried really, really huge in the last 2 games of the series.
And undisputably, while Perkz had a massive win, there was also collectively the team stepping up. You know, Jankos on the Olaf, Wonder on the Aatrox as well. The fact that those flex picks in the draft phase, across the board, G2 just looks like a completely different animal than what we saw in play-ins.
Yeah, absolutely play their style. But also, to speak to Perkz, I know Jankos tweeted out after the game, like, my mid laner is Faker. And it got me thinking how well Perkz actually played in the final 2 games of a series. And I went back, looked at quarterfinals, semifinals, finals in Worlds history, and the final 2 games. Perkz was 18-1-8, an average of a plus 26 CSD, 1,100 gold at 10 minutes, a 789 DPM, a 37% damage. That is actually the best final 2 games of a series at Worlds I've seen a mid laner play. Perkz, legendary performance yesterday.
An absolute monster in those final 2 games. It is isolated to those final 2 games in terms of those statistics being so fantastic.
Series-clinching games, however.
Exactly.
Went down in the series against a tournament favorite.
Pressure moments, and pressure plays out of the top mid laner in Perkz. Pick'ems, though, in all the world, there are only 2 people, 2, that still have it correct. So congratulations to you. Pick'ems after yesterday's upsets. I believe both of those people have Fnatic winning the entire tournament. I don't know who they have them playing against. I would be curious to know if it was either KT or
Probably
RNG
G2.
now out. Yeah, or G2,
Like just
hoping for that all-European
trends and
final.
stuff.
EULCS winter final.
Here's the thing, though. When you think upset, sometimes you cast your mind to a huge solo carry performance or some sort of insane Baron steal. And then there are the players that just kind of run face first into the enemy team to say, I'm helping. Presented by State Farm. In Game 5 versus RNG, G2's Jankos makes creative use of Olaf's ultimate to nullify Letme's initiation.
MLXG will not be jumping back in, but the Death Sentence will find a target. All of a sudden, White is down. Yes, he managed to get the ultimate off, but it simply isn't enough. Now in a
Rise ulti.
look at the Realm Warp. That's going to
Perkz over the wall.
Perkz is looking for Uzi.
I'm dead. Run. Rise ulting. They're all rise ulting. I'm flash. I'm out. I'm fine.
The best thing about this play is that Jankos even splits off from his team to act as the sacrificial lamb to draw RNG's attention. Truly the I'm helping play of the day for me.
Yeah, it's a mundane play. It almost goes unnoticed, but the impact of it cannot be overstated necessarily. Now, with RNG and KT out of contention, I want to discuss how this changes the title race. Who are the new favorites, if any, here at Worlds 2018?
I mean, I think most people are going to be looking at Fnatic at this point. For me, you need clutch and you need consistency, and we saw probably the most consistent performance of any of the teams out of Fnatic after they had a massive group stage, and they also had that clutch factor, and these two guys, Reckless and Caps.
And I think that if you kind of look at who else could potentially be favorites alongside Fnatic, IG is the other big talking point. They were the team that went toe-to-toe with Fnatic in the group stages, and after not only taking down a KT, who were expected to be the favorites, but given that they have the powerhouse of Rookie in the mid lane as well, you kind of look at them as seeing as another potential big, strong candidate.
Yeah, but you also have to look at the final team from Korea, considering Korea's run the last 5 World Championships. I think Afrika still stands. And honestly, we all had really good reasons why KT and IG were favorites too. Those were great reasons why Fnatic, I think, can be considered the new favorite. But can we just, like, there are no favorites anymore with the 6 teams that are remaining?
saying that. I don't know about the
Anyone
rest
could
of you.
win the World
I think
Championship
this is
that's
the
remaining?
most competitive World Championship we've ever had, given that in the past, every time we set tournament expectations around a team, they often meet in the finals.
just lose.
But this is the first time, I think, that we've ever seen this many upsets at a World Championship.
And exactly, it's the number of upsets. You know, anyone could say that there's going to be an upset, you know, a crazy best of 5, but the fact that both KT and RNG, the tournament favorites, are out in quarterfinals, like, those pick'ems guys start buying lottery tickets, because that's lightning strike, and I don't know if that strikes twice.
Yeah, it doesn't normally, but we'll see, because it did strike twice last night in the sense of upsets. We'll find out who joins G2 and IG today with the LCKs and Freak of Freaks going up against Cloud9 in our first series. After that, though, we've got more Worlds action in store as Fnatic and Network Gaming face off in a rematch of the 2015 quarterfinals. Now, while the pressure is mounting for the EU representatives, Whippo's main drive is the fresh memory of Fnatic's MSI run.
I think there's obviously a lot of excitement in trying to prove that we're as good as we know we are. Because I think at the end of the day, that's what matters. And I think that at MSI, we didn't get to show that. I think there's a lot of regret in our team that we felt like we could at least take a team like RNG to Game 5 or make it an exciting series rather than a 3-0 wish-wash. So I feel like that's still at least fresh in my memory. And I want to be able to, if we don't make it until the end, we at least get to show that we're more than a threat. I remember at Rift Rivals, Joey, we played the last game against 10A. Didn't mean as much, of course, but Joey told us, we're Fnatic because we play the games that matter. And I feel like that stuck with me because, I want to be a player on this team because I want to play the games that have stakes. I want to play the games that matter.
Well, you've made it to the games that matter, Whippo. The best of 5's the knockout stage, but this is something that Fnatic's been talking about all tournament long, that their eyes have been on the best of 5's in the knockout stage. The expectation for themselves was to skate out of the group, in a sense, and then really put a challenge on for a world title.
And it's really hard to gauge, as we move into best of 5's, is it going to be Whippo, is it going to be Soaz, when do they make that change, and how does that fundamentally change not only Fnatic's power level, but their drafting in particular? How they've broken the Urgot Aatrox or how they're countering out with Whippo on the roster is very interesting as we look at these BO5's metas.
And I'm also just excited to see Fnatic compete in these best of 5's because with this roster last year, they did get crushed by RNG. RNG, and this time around with the addition of Hylissang, with expectations being so high on the squad, I think that they are expecting to win, and many European fans want to see a return of the 2015 Fnatic that made it so far at Worlds.
And they definitely can't look past EDG. The 2 Pool 1 seeds from the group stage lost yesterday. In fact, the last time a #1 seed from a region made semifinals was 2016.
That's absurd.
Fnatic is the last regional champion remaining at the World Championship, so they've done well to get this far. People will expect them to go farther, but they have to focus on the day at hand, and I think they showed they can do that in the final day of the group stage.
That's our second series, the first being Afrika Freaks versus Cloud9. Coming up next, we'll take a look at the play styles taken to the Rift today and break down the different lanes in our first matchup, Afrika versus Cloud9. As we go to break, though, our next MasterCard priceless moment takes us back to a Fnatic who suffered a heartbreaking defeat after a ridiculous base defense from OMG in 2014.
It is going to be 1 and 2 for both OMG and Fnatic in groups. This group is wide open.
And again this game, do you think it's going to be over? There's Soaz, it's not Cassidy, but it's Rumble.
Oh my gosh. To the top. He's going to go for the Nexus here as well. Soaz trying to be the hero. The recall's coming in, but Soaz is on it. One goes back, the rest come in.
He's not going to get it.
Down. I don't think he's got the damage here, but the super minions are coming in. I say he's not got the damage for the Nexus. He's down to half HP. He's already used his flash, and he will end up falling down.
Yeah, but they're playing the stop the recall game, and Reckless is on the heels right now. Stop the recall! Living artillery, he's gonna stop Sign, he has to. One of the big damage dealers, Going's gonna make it in. Peke's there, here comes Cyanide as well on the end. They're focused on the Guardian Angel Lasagnas. Can Cyanide slip in as the spider on this one? Will they be able to get it? Peke up from the Guardian Angel, a few more hits. Will this really happen? No, they didn't get it! They saved the Nexus! OMG isn't gonna let it happen.
Oh, the flash from Gogo, they're going for Reckless, that knocks down! Shot down here by Lovely! Who's the next target? Soaz is in between them, but they're going for Yellow Star. Second man down, make that third and fourth. Peke will fall. It's an ace for OMG, and that's gonna be the game.
Great pressure. OMG's Guardian Angels up, going head first in that fight for the down Guardian Angels on the side of Fnatic, and OMG picks up the win over Fnatic.
(8강에) 어렵게 합류하게 됐는데 8강에서 좀 또 C9을 만나게 됐거든요. C9이 이번 그룹에서 좀 뭐라 해야 될까, 퍼포먼스가 정말 좋았어요. 마지막에 2라운드 때. 그래서 너무 무섭고.
We showed up in groups in a big way, and going into quarters, I think this is the best chance NA's ever had. I think you should be really excited about Cloud9.
Cloud9 passed the group of death and qualified for the quarterfinals.
C9은 이제 저희한테 지면 아예 북미시드가 없어지는 건데 그냥 서로 이렇게 사명감을 안고 할 것 같아서 되게 재밌는 경기를 할 것 같아요.
지금까지 진행되었던 롤드컵은 되게 강력한 우승 후보가 있었잖아요. 근데 이번 롤드컵은 많이 다른 것 같아요. 모든 팀이 지금 다 우승권에 있다고 생각하거든요.
I feel like some people are overestimating how close the teams really are. I think that we'll see how close it actually is.
They got a second kill already. INT are going to be wiped off of the map, and Fnatic will take the #1 seed into the quarterfinals.
I believe the gap is closed, and now's the time for us to step up.
Welcome back. It's World's Countdown. Afrika Freaks and Cloud9 clash in about 12.5 minutes. Yesterday, we saw the importance of sticking to your style, with G2 finding huge success in their 1-3-1. So let's check out how the teams on stage today find their wins, starting with another EU powerhouse in Fnatic.
And we kind of decided to label this team the Boxer, just because of their willingness to throw out a punch for every time they take one. They're a team that gets scrappy, they're a team that gets in the thick of things, and they will match anything that you try to throw at them.
And for me, it's also this aspect of endurance. The fact that they will not only go toe for toe, but even when you push them to that back foot, when Invictus Gaming did get the better of Fnatic, late game, they were still pulling out these clutch plays, you know, Soaz charging into the Baron, trying to save the day for Fnatic. So it's not really over until their next Perkz actually goes down.
A lot of grit and willingness to fight out of that squad. They're going up against EDG. Let's talk about them and their strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, I mean, EDG is very much a double-edged sword. We see the very close games they had against Mad Team, and then we saw them steamroll KT Rolster in another. So they do take a lot of risk. They don't necessarily have the best fight setup, but some of them are so good individually that it is hit or miss on seemingly every occasion.
And if the meta continues to be this really heavy, down and dirty skirmish style, suddenly Edward Gaming don't look so blown out across from Fnatic. You know, there is a chance that if we're going to go blow for blow, that sucker punch can just find them in the right hook from Edward Gaming.
All right, liking their chances a bit when it comes to that stylistic matchup. Let's talk about the first series at hand, though, today. A Freak of Freaks, the last hope for Korea.
I consider this team the controlled, calculated, almost classic Korean style, given that they don't like to try and snowball. They don't like to get down and dirty. They like to sit above the other teams and look down at the mess they're creating, and they pick the right moment to come in and involve themselves in the fight.
That style's dying, though, this World Championship. And a Freak of Freaks, combined kills per minute-wise, 0.4, which is by far the lowest in groups. They have the fewest deaths of teams in group stage, and actually the third fewest kills as well. It does speak to the control. They keep their games very much about turret pushing, fight avoidance, and forcing the other team to take risks.
It's going to be interesting to see then how Cloud9 chooses to interact with that inaction, essentially, as they've been one of our most innovative teams here at the World Championship.
Is it going to be the Zillion? Is it going to be the Hecarim? Is it going to be the Singe? We don't know the depth of Cloud9's champion pool or the depths of their tricks. A lot of credit to Reaper, because it's not just about the 5-man roster on the field, it's about the 6-man roster behind this NA org.
Yeah, and I always say during the NALCS, Reaper is the hardest coach to predict in draft because it doesn't feel like he actually has that many tendencies. Even when they pull out the Hecarim, they did it in the regional qualifier, then saved it all the way until the last day of the group stage for Licorice. So not only do they have innovative picks, they're fairly innovative in the styles they play because they do switch them up in between games.
Of course, in a best of 5, there will be questions raised, as you mentioned, about how deep that pool is, how far down the innovation, whole rabbit hole can they go before they run out of options. Now, Cloud9's journey of innovation was an emotional day for the North American org, as we see in this week's mic check.
I mean, I'd play Danish if it was Danish.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
This is the stupidest conversation I've ever had.
All right, so...
Look. Ready?
Oh, my... Yo, sneak in, Sazel. These guys play like maniacs.
Psychopaths.
What's up, Sneaky?
Can you turn up myself? Like my own feedback?
Yeah. 1 sec.
Sneaky needs to...
Not play too much.
Sneaky hears too many idiots in comms. He's like, finally. I turned myself up. I can hear some smart comms.
And then they have to back out. Let's step up.
Okay.
I'm opting him.
Okay, Jonathan.
Jarvan's in. Kill Sneaky.
I'm okay.
Sonya, on their AD. I'm ulting on. I have LeBlanc here.
LeBlanc's in here somewhere?
LeBlanc's dead.
Hey, we're just in.
Just in.
Yeah. Don't chase him.
Oh, fine.
Nice job, guys.
Good
Nice.
job.
Holy shit.
Okay,
Taunting here.
Yeah.
Walk him.
I'm on him. We can probably kill him.
Him here.
Yeah.
No flash.
Dead.
Nice job.
Nice job.
Let's
Yeah, push.
Oh, I actually died.
Oh my god. It's okay.
It's okay.
I don't care about your top 9 picks.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Eric's our nice rock up there. Doesn't need a champion.
We can beat RNG next one.
Yeah, I mean, Vitality can do it. We can do it.
Hell yeah.
Sneaky can do it. We can do it.
Hell yeah. Signs right here.
We need help. We need help.
We need to cover.
Ulting Jensen.
I have wall on him.
I got kicked. I got kicked. Watch Cyan Q.
Hit front.
Hit front.
Kaisa. Finish him. Kill Cyan.
Kill him, Bear.
Got him.
Oh, we don't have to wait.
Lee's here.
I'm just hitting Nexus.
Oh, we can kill them all. We already
Good job, boys.
Yeah.
Nice shot, boys.
We're gonna need some high energy as well.
Yep.
I'm starting the game. No!
Nice.
Nice.
Wow. Nice energy.
Nice shot, Dennis.
Give me Hecarim.
All right, go for a confidence one.
Hell yeah.
Let's go. Hell yeah.
All right, let's go, Eric.
I'm on 5.
Flash, another flash. I'm just really proficient.
I'm alive. I'm on Syndra.
You win, guys. You win.
Syndra's dead.
Yeah. And
Getting the mid wave.
All right, I use multi, but it's fine.
nice shot, guys.
Nice.
What's the draft?
It's gonna be random.
Random draft.
Cloud9 loading up against a Freak of Freaks in not too long. The LCK's last hope in the tournament. I want to talk about this squad because Even pre-tournament, they were known as the prep squad, the one that with enough time would come in with a good plan of how to dismantle any team they're going up against. Of course, we've had a truncated amount of time between groups and knockouts this year around, as well as the fact that nothing this year seems to be going as expected.
I know, it feels like the bat signal went off and you're waiting for Genji or SKT, KT rolls through Griffin, someone's gonna save the day, and out rolls Robin with the Afrika Freaks. And the thing is while they're such a disciplined team and they have so much depth to their champion pool, it again goes back to this matchup across from Cloud9 with so many different innovative picks. You know, we say, what more left in the tank for Cloud9? What more is left in the tank for Afrika? How much have they actually been able to change things up?
The thing for Afrika that I'm looking at is their consistency coming into this game, because I think that when you look at how their year has gone, this has been the most successful year in the organization's history. Before this year, it was 5th place, 5th place, 5th place, 5th place. And then with the introduction of Keen, they found themselves in their first ever final. They made it to 3rd place last split. And a lot of that was due to the infrastructure and that they always came in with a plan and they were able to execute upon it. And in the second round robin of Group A is when we started to see a return to form of that kind of Afrika.
And I felt like a lot of that was due to Spirit. You know, after Mowgli got subbed in, Spirit returned for second round robin. He picked up the Nocturne pick across from Flash Wolves, and suddenly it looked like a very different meta read from Afrika.
Yeah, what I am really curious to see in this series is what they've actually adapted in the time off before the quarterfinals, because the difference between first week Afrika and second week Afrika was huge. I actually feel like in first week, they were trying to be adaptive and say, okay, we're going to be able to pull out the Akali in the top lane, you'll split push with that, or we'll do a team fighting comp with Sion, but those failed. And in the consistent day that, you know, they adapted to, they really just went back to their bread and butter, which was a slow controlled game with a late scaling, split push top laner, and they 4-1. So the question will be, do they just run that as many times as possible, or do they actually have something new that could surprise Cloud9?
Well, and as we saw yesterday, adaptation within series is just as important as the adaptation between the stages, because you know, we're watching all of a sudden Aatrox go through a pick ban, you know, where it was 100% from, you know, up to that point. And so, again, I'll have questions about Afrika's willingness to make those kind of, you know, in-the-moment adaptations.
And who's going to show up in the moment on the day? Because while Afrika did have a good turnaround from week 2, you know, it was a compressed amount of time. That could have just been that on that day, Afrika were just playing very well, and then they go back to their previous performance of the other 2 days.
Now, on the other side of the matchup, we've got Cloud9. They're looking to continue their Great Worlds run by securing a semi-final spot.
Man, Cloud9, 10th place at one point in the summer split, makes it into play-in, go all the way through play-in, escape the group of death. They make their 5th quarterfinal in 6 years and are now looking for their first semi-final appearance against the last hope from Korea. I love the fact that this is NA's last team against Korea's last team. And if NA wins, they actually outlast Korea at a world championship.
And I do love the combination of rookies and veterans that this squad has developed, because recently we've been seeing a lot more reliance of Svenskeren over Blabber. And while admittedly Blabber didn't have the best play-ins performance, we did see a lot of growth throughout the tournament for him. But now they're relying on Svenskeren, combining him with the rookies of Licorice and Zeyzal. And you seem to have this mesh of a squad that seems to really know what they're doing when they come into these big games.
You mentioned one of the rookies, but with the game just a few minutes away, I want to go down the map lane by lane and talk about where these teams have found an advantage, as we did just yesterday.
And we went back and forth over this one, but ultimately, based on tournament performance right now, Licorice is the better top laner. And this is huge because King was ranked 4 on top 20.
Absolutely. I think so many of these choices are actually incredibly close. The bot lane checks, both going to the Afrika Freaks. I mean, when you look at the group stage statistics, they have had actually much better laning than the C9 bot lane, but that doesn't mean that Zeyzal won't be able to make plays or Sneaky won't be able to have a clutch late game team fight. These are much closer than the checkmark scorecard we did yesterday between KT and IG.
I think it's really matchup dependent, especially for that bot lane, but I think that something that was actually close was the difference between Jensen and Kuro.
And that's before we even get to the topic of intangibles, right? We've talked about the lanes in their isolation, but there are many things like Cloud9's innovation and or Afrika's prep that need to be taken into account.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about that, Dash, because one of the big innovations that we see from Cloud9 is this use of the Zilean and the Shen. And I think that it fits very nicely in how they like to play, in the way in which they love to be aggressive, they try to force a lot of fights and skirmishes in the early game, and champions like Zilean in particular give you that extra bit of revival power. You know, they bring you back when things are looking pretty dire. This is a fantastic example against Vitality where it looks looks like this fight should have gone in Vitality's way, but again, the use of the Zillion ult really benefits them. The problem is it sometimes compensates for some of the mistakes that we see from Cloud9, where a lot of individual members overstep. They aren't aware of what's going on in the map. And if we just look at this one where Sven Skeren is trying to clear out a ward, he should have died here. But because of things like the Zillion ult, these mistakes are compensated for.
So, again, we'll be looking for, one, what happens when those things are taken off the table and how does C9 interact? And then has Afreeca even identified these things and learned how to play around them or maybe punish C9 for their tendencies? Throughout Worlds 2018, though, we've learned that you should expect the unexpected. And with that in mind, no matter how unlikely upsets may be, or even at this point, the expected may be, I want to see how it translates into today's predictions. So, down the line, starting in our first series, Afreeca versus Cloud9. Frostgren, who are you taking?
I don't think Lightning's going to strike 3 times in a row, although who knows. I'm going to go Afreeca 3-1, and I just think the adaptation, the turnaround time, the fact that Afreeca have a lot of experience with Cloud9, I think that we'll be able to see something crazy in the draft, and we'll go back to that controlled style.
A 3-1 for the LCK. Vedius, what are you thinking?
I'm in agreement with Frosk. 3-1 Afreeca. For me, I have to go with what my analytical brain says. I feel like Cloud9 have a little too much over-reliance on some of these specific picks, and I feel like Afreeca will come in prepared.
Yeah, that was your first mistake, going with your analytical brain.
Were you watching yesterday? Like G2, IG, I think you have to expect a little bit of unexpected stuff. I'm hoping that this is the year C9 breaks through to semifinals. I'm going to go C9 3-2. They have something new in the bank. Afreeca might not be able to play anything but that top lane style with Keen, and if Licorice can match him in the 1v1, Cloud9 can take the series.
Jat says we're going the distance. We'll see if Afreeca has anything to say about that, and we'll see which teams deliver for the region as we send it off to Freak, Papa Smithy, and Kobe for Game 1.